Welcome to the August 5th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting. We're not ready?
An echo
Oh, we have an echo.
makes you sound more impressive because it echoes.
Hmm.
You ought to pull your bass guitar. It'll take the echo out of it.
Hmm. Okay, welcome to the August 5th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting. Will the public and staff please turn off their cell phone or move to vibrate and mute their devices if they're online? When making public comment, clearly identify yourself. To make public comment online, use the raised hand function online. In person, approach the podium and please turn on the microphone. Remind that no additional business will be discussed following completion of this agenda. Clerk, please read the first item.
Number 6A, transfer ownership of restaurant liquor license application filed with the city clerk's office for Pothos Business LLC doing business as Bella Fuco, 2115 Warren Avenue, Cheyenne, Wyoming. License currently held by Pensteman Business LLC doing business as Bella Fuco.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Kylie Soden, City Clerk. The item before you is an application for a transfer of ownership of restaurant liquor license for Pothos Business LLC doing business as Bella Fuco, license currently held by Penstemon Business LLC. The application has been reviewed by applicable city departments and the Wyoming Liquor Division, and requirements for the application have been met. I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Do we have a representative here? Go ahead.
Jim Weaver, 6811 Prairie Hills Drive. I'm just a commercial broker that put the transaction together. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
Where did the
Mr.
business name
Roybal?
come from? Oh, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Where did the business name come from?
Oh, they're both actually are plants.
Oh.
And I had to ask the question also, but that's for the LLC names.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Hearing no public comment, may I have a motion?
Chairman, I move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Roybal, seconded by Moody. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, the recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to approve. Next item, please.
Number 11, ordinance, third reading, defining the terms and conditions of employment for sworn officers of the Cheyenne Police Department for fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David James, Captain, Cheyenne Police Department. What you have before you is the ordinance that defines the terms and conditions for sworn employees at the Cheyenne Police Department. Not very much changed for this, and since it's third reading, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Any comment from the public? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve on third and final reading.
Moved by
Second.
Moody,
Second.
seconded by Rennie. Any further questions from committee? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to approve on third and final reading. Next item, please.
Number 14, resolution authorizing the city of Cheyenne to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Cheyenne Leads to establish and administer a large project SCAP finance program utilizing voter approved 6-penny sales and use tax funds for economic development.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Mayor Patrick Collins. I wanted to maybe start off a little bit on how we got here today and then turn it over to Betsy from Leads to maybe answer any of the details you'd have. When I was elected in November of 2000, we had some community challenges. We had the hitching post, 5 contaminated buildings that had been there for a decade. We have the downtown hole It's been almost 20 years vacant, and the Heinz building that, with exception of the first floor, had not really been used much since 1985. And we're looking for some tools that we might be able to use to remedy those situations. And so that year we created the URA and the tax increment financing program. And that tool proved to be very effective in the hitching post in removing the blighted buildings, creating an area that could be developed. And today we have a hotel built, and hopefully more development that would happen after that. That same year, Dr. Rainey and I were on the Six Penny Committee from the city, and we proposed Proposition 12. And that Proposition 12 would create a large project completion fund of $3.5 million. And it contemplated working with outside partners, specifically Leeds. And it specifically named the downtown hole as one of the projects that we would try to remedy. 67.6% of the voters approved that, showing some overwhelming support for these large community needs. I think the challenge, though, that we have is how do we deploy those funds? How do we bring the Heinz building back to life, and how do we fill the hole? I think that's our challenge. And to me, the impact would be immediately the curb appeal of our downtown would be improved, and the economic activity downtown would be greatly enhanced by having people living and working downtown. So I asked Betsy and Leeds if they would be willing to enter into a partnership with the city to develop a program, number one, that would help us get the Heinz in the Hole building back to life, specifically because it was named on the ballot. And then that we would create a program that would reinvest the money at the end of the Heinz in the Hole project, that we'd recapture those additional funds that would help identify the next of these community challenges that we have that would not be able to be successfully finished without a public-private partnership, and to create a revolving loan fund or an equity fund that they would be able to do that. And so before you today is a resolution that was the first step of creating that partnership with Leeds to make this program happen, and hopefully to see the Heinz in the Hole building brought back to life, see the hole filled, and see our downtown made whole again. And I know Betsy from Leeds is here today that maybe can answer some very specific details on the partnership that we're talking about and the MOU that we hope to create in the future. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and then I'll turn it over to Betsy.
Any questions for the mayor?
Mr. Chair, through you, the 3.5 million we have, do we have any additional funds besides that that could be implemented?
Mr. Chairman, through you, what we have identified right now is the $3.5 million plus interest. I know that Leeds is interested in being a partner in this, and maybe some equity that they would put into it. And I'm hoping that there might be other partners that would also want to become partners in this program, especially once we show that the Heinz in the Hole building are back and working, that they might see the advantages of a partnership like this. And then I think there's an opportunity for us maybe on the next Six Penny or other funds that we have that we might be able to create more if the governing body chooses to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Betsy Hale?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and City Council members. Betsy Hale, CEO of Cheyenne Leeds, and with me today I have Dante Rushton, who is our Director of Real Estate and Property Management, and he will be the project manager for this project should it be approved. I guess Jennifer, you're going to control the slides for me. Okay, next slide, please. And I believe you also have this in your packet. What we've tried to do is set the stage for City Council and for this committee in particular to really understand how downtown projects get done. I can tell you right off the bat, they're incredibly painful. Greenfield development is so, right? Greenfield development is so much easier. So what we have done historically out at the business parks is a whole different ballgame than what we're going to be undertaking now. And there really is 7 steps to rebuilding downtowns. And the first one is to understand your community. One of the things that I'll shout out to all of you is that this project and how we solve problems downtown have been studied quite prolifically and dynamically over the last I would say 20, 30 years. There's been a lot of community meetings, a lot of outreach, especially with the Hines and the Whole, a lot of engagement. There's several studies that have been done by city staff and the DDA on how to get downtown projects done. And so we really think that we understand the situation. And so we don't want to study this anymore. You want to create an attractive, walkable place. Congratulations, you've been doing a lot of that. I've been here 5 years and I'm a big walker. I lived downtown for 3 years, and the ADA compliance, the accesses, the trip issues are really going away. And so I think we're in the process of getting that addressed in the heart of our downtown, diversifying the downtown economy. As Dante and I were driving up here, we saw some new projects coming out of the ground. There's a crane up in the air. It's very exciting to see projects like that happening. And so good things are happening. Build-in equity in a variety of homes and a variety of prices. You know, we've kind of been middle of the road on that. You know, I remember John Pesh, when I first moved here in 2020, had the listings on those condos that are over here, like right off of 30, beautiful, beautiful properties. And so I think we've had some starts and some stops and some starts and some stops. So maybe we've got to a point where there's momentum. We need to improve government regulations and process. You have certainly been doing that. You're kind of in the state of Wyoming. The city of Cheyenne's been very, very forward thinking on addressing housing regulations and development regulations. Financing projects has been a bit of the bugaboo, right? Just since I've been here, we got the URA started. But again, the tax increment that comes off of projects is relatively small, and it really doesn't move the needle when it gets to financing. It's one part of the tiramisu of financing, but it's not the only part. And so this type of a gap financing investment fund would be incredibly helpful. And then establish ongoing management. You have the DDA, you have Visit Cheyenne, you have a lot of good things happening at the depot. And so we think for the long-term benefit of the downtown, there are already entities that are very robust and that are very engaged in events and doing things that keep downtown active. So here's the sixth penny language. This is actually taken right off of the language Proposition 12. And as the mayor pointed out, it specifically calls out working with leads in the chamber. It actually talks about the whole. I would also want to add here, the Hines is as equally important as the whole. You may not realize this, but you can't develop the one without the other, because the Hines was built when it was built. They didn't have a need for an elevator. They hadn't really thought about an elevator. And so in order to put an elevator into the Hines, you need that space that's available in the whole, also for the fire stairwells and things like that, and actually some HVAC requirements. But what I did is I went to the city's website last week, and there was a page on the 6 penny ballot. And if you scroll down to Proposition 12 and you hit the Y button, this is the exact language that was in the Y to get the 6 penny ballot approved. Sufficient funding has been a barrier to complete numerous large projects throughout Cheyenne over the years. I think that's exactly what the mayor alluded to in his comments. And then again, it talks about collaborating with outside partners. And so this allows us to bring additional resources. It allows us to bring subject matter expertise and really, in my opinion, make sure the project happens, because we have the people with the right skill sets. We have the people with the resources and experience that can come in and get the project done. So what the resolution proposes is a gap financing program. And really the keys to that program being successful are going to be to think creatively. This is not going to be the only source of funds that goes in here. You may recall in 2021, our board at Cheyenne Leads actually made a $1.5 million commitment to the DTA for a capital investment if the DDA would be able to come and, with a developer in tow, a property owner and developer in tow, we would put cash into the project just to make the project happen. So we had that MOU for 2 years. We actually took that MOU away when the DDA kind of changed its organizational structure and came back into the city. But we're willing to make that commitment again. Our board, since I came here in 2020, was very clear that the Whole and the Hines needed to be a downtown business park, that we really needed to figure out how we get that thing energized. And it does take public-private partnerships and tax incentives. We also need to look at special assessments and TIF, and we'll work on all of those things, but we'll also look for philanthropic dollars to go into this project. We believe there are people that care about this project, care about these two properties. But I also want to point out too, our goal is that this is not just for the Hole in the Hines. It's for lots of opportunities in the downtown. We'd like to see this just continue to be a source, a catalyst for getting projects done and really leveraging those public investments. And I think the taxpayers, in approving this by 61% of the vote, really felt like they needed to get this done. So why Cheyenne Leads? We have a 40-year track record. We'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary next year. Our board members, they know the history. They know the fits and starts. They've been a part of it. They've been a part of many of the meetings. They've been a part of many of the planning documents. They've gone in and looked at the construction. We spent about $150,000 over the last 2 years doing apartment market rate studies, doing demo studies. We actually studied the condition of the property. And I think too, Dante brings a lot of experience out of Fort Worth, where they've done downtown projects. We were just talking about a project that they did down there that actually received $12 million in tax increment financing. So this is a problem everywhere. Local governments are having to solve downtown redevelopment everywhere. And then little known maybe in my previous career in Corning and then also down in Loveland, I've facilitated over 200 million of downtown reinvestment. And so in a variety of ways. So not something that Leeds hired me to do, but certainly something that I bring to the table. So the first project, and as I was having some conversations, especially with my board, they said, well, do you really want to go into the project, the first project? Well, for me, it's really important for you to know that we feel to be a part of this, that the first project really does need to be the Hines and the Hole. And so, in fact, one of the things that I'll be recommending to the board, should this body and the full city council move this resolution forward, I'll be asking them to consider that we become a tenant in the Hines. And so we would actually make that second floor Class A office space, because we do believe there's a need for Class A office. And there's a huge demand for my top floor at the depot right now. Everybody wants that view. So that's one of the things that we're willing to commit to. Do want to remind you that, it's been predominantly empty 40 years, the Hole there for 20. There's just been so many fits and starts. And I just put a few names of the project. Some of you are more familiar with them than I am. I brought a whole bag of proposals and a whole bag of different things that have happened, everything from a hotel developer, even prior to the last one, Marriott, I guess, was a consideration. Companies that have wanted to be located there, an art space project. So we've done a great job of convening, collaborating, and getting things to the table, but we just haven't really got it over the finish line. I think that so far, between the current property owner and the Overland Properties Group, who is the individual or the group that would come in and work with us on the housing portion of this, we've spent about $4 million already. So we've got a lot of soft costs invested here. And I don't know if all of you remember the history of the Hole. It was a site that was identified for the Children's Museum. And then there were some opportunities for the Children's Museum to go someplace else. And so resources were brought together through Leeds to acquire that property. And then we also were able to give the Progress and Prosperity 2 funds that we still had to the Children's Museum so they could help facilitate construction of their current location. So I think the investment probably will be about 31 million to fix both of these buildings and program them and get them back to places where people live, work, and play. The development partner, and I'm sorry I put Overland Park Group, that's another group I worked with in another time. It's actually the Overland Properties Group. And then, I go back to this comment that I made earlier, where our board had committed in 2021 cash. We'll probably be bringing cash as well as moving into the building, going into a long-term lease, and more than likely the tenant finish. Of course, that's all with the approval of my board. So I don't want to speak without board approval, but I also haven't taken this to the board yet because I want to be certain that the city is willing to come into the project. So the next steps really are to all of us make a business decision. There's been a lot of emotion and a lot of ups and downs associated with this particular project. And really, we just need to make a decision and make it happen. And so that's what we're looking at. I would appreciate it if you would support the resolution as presented and make a positive recommendation to the council. I'll be asking the council to adopt the resolution. And then we just have to let the process work. And I will tell you, it's probably going to be a slow process. So we'll need to develop the MOU with the city. Then we'll have to go into a development agreement with the property owner, with Overland Properties Group, ourselves, any other types of funding that may need to be developed. And then, of course, Overland Properties Group intends to apply for the low-income housing tax credits that are available through the Wyoming Community Development Authority. That has a schedule that more than likely we won't know until pretty much the end of this year whether that's been awarded. So don't want to overpromise, don't want to set a timeline out there that's not real, but I would hope by the first of next year, either January, February, we would be able to tell you what this is going to look like moving forward. As it's planned today, 72 units of housing with first floor retail restaurant. If Leeds takes an office floor, it would take those units down to 63. Happy to stand for questions, Mr. Chair and council members.
Mr. Royball?
Mr. Chair, through you, and not being funny, but so our timeline will be less than 20 more years?
I would certainly hope so. I would certainly hope so. I have real confidence in this, because I've been here 5 years and I have had my own fits and starts. I think I wish Mr. Weaver had stayed. We had, as an organization, Leeds had looked at buying this property from Mr. Hatch prior to the owners that have it now. And Mr. Hatch and I could never get to a price that our board thought was the right price, right? That withholding costs and things like that, we thought it was priced a little too high. But I think now with the property owner that we have who really believes in the project, believes in the property, and with our resources still ready to be committed, and we've got the subject matter expert here as the project manager, I think we're ready. I think it's going to happen. And Overland Properties Group does have a project. If you'd like to go over to Laramie, their project in Laramie is the reserves at Grandview Heights. And this will be 42 units of family style living. And it is located, if you know where Laramie High School is, and near the planned elementary school there in Laramie. And so that should be open late this year. So they are demonstrating that they're willing to make a commitment in Wyoming. They have many projects in Colorado, Kansas, Arizona, and New Mexico.
So, and through you, Mr. Chair, again, the chairman, myself, and Councilman White, in the last 15 years, we've seen how many projects?
Too many.
Too many. So I'm glad that you guys are getting involved. I guess adult supervision is going to help, but we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions? No further questions?
Mr. Chairman, pardon me. I presume I guess that will be in the MOU, so I'll wait to ask my questions at that point.
Okay, great.
Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Thank you, ma'am. So the first floor will be retail, second floor will be the office space, third floor will be the housing. Is that correct?
Third, fourth, and fifth floor. And of course, most of the floor, not the whole, we're still going back and forth, but that'll predominantly be housing. The Hines, if you'd like a tour, we can set that up. The building is built to last, but it does have some really unique stepping up into kind of spaces. Those will be unique challenges, but we'll work with them. So thank you. Great question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moody.
Any public comment? I wish there was, because this is big news that we've been waiting for a long time. And certainly we want to make sure that the public is really aware of the complexity, but the importance. And I'm glad you mentioned the tour of the building. I think we need to have people see why it is of that quality. So hearing no public comment. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt.
Second,
Moved by Rennie, second by Roy Ball. Any further questions or comments? Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Again, thank you, everybody. This is very important. We hear from our constituents, when are we going to fill the hole? When are we going to fill the hole? When are we going to fill the hole? And it was decided by a majority of the voters. I mean, where my record's 53%, but again, that is majority. So we need to do the will of the people. So I'll be an aye vote. Let's get it started because we got to fill that hole. I think it will help out with our city in the future, 100 years from now. Thank you.
All those in favor?
aye.
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 Recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to adopt. Next
Thank you.
item, please.
Number 15E, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and TDSI, the Design Studio, Inc. for the High Plains Arboretum Greenhouse from State Parks and Cultural Resources Funds.
Staff report?
Mr. Chair, Jason Sanchez, Community Rec and Events. This project coincides with the current MOU between the city and the state for work and improvements at the Arboretum. The contract with TDSI would be for design work and scope of work to renovate the greenhouse. Funding for this is one-time funds from the state, and I do have Randy Byers with me if you have any questions.
Mr. Byers?
Mr. Chair, Randy Byers, TDSI.
Any
Standing for any
question for
questions?
Mr. Byers? Mr. Royball?
Mr. Chair, through you. I haven't been out there in a couple of years. What shape is it in, the building in?
Mr. Chair, through you. Regretfully, the greenhouse is in pretty dire shape, broken glass. It's being used in its current condition by the city, but there is pretty extensive renovation that's needed to put it back together.
Through you, Chair. Will the funding from the state facilitate that, or is it going to be 100% when that's done?
Mr. Chair, through you. Yes, I believe that the funding that has been passed on from the state to the city will be sufficient to complete that project and a couple of other renovation projects out there as well on the Lath House, the Head House. And I think Jason already is working on some additional irrigation of the historic Arboretum.
Thank you.
Dr. Rennie?
Mr. Chairman, through you, just kind of scanning through the agreement, is there a completion date?
Mr. Chair, through you, I think we have the completion date as December 1st, 2020. Let me find the
This
date.
year or the following year? Or this year?
Find it fast. I apologize. Just want to make sure I give you the right date. You got it.
Mr. Chair, if I can attempt to answer that, there will actually be two critical dates. The first date is completion and bidding of the work to come to council yet this calendar year.
Thank you.
And then the physical work on the greenhouse will take place next year.
Okay. If we have time, I want to talk afterwards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sanchez? So this is for the design and for the bid documents. Is the funding for the actual construction established by the legislature? I think that's where it's coming from, isn't it?
Mr. Chair, through you, that is correct. Funding is available, and I believe the cost estimates that we came up with, the funding would be sufficient to do the improvements.
And so what exactly are they going to grow in the greenhouse?
Mr. Chair, through you, I don't know at the moment exactly what we will grow in there. Once we're finished with the design, we'll be able to identify what plants and how we would manage the area.
Thank you.
Mr.
Dr. Rennie?
Mr. Chairman, as a follow-up to that, I presume that CRE and our forestry department would have some uses for that facility.
Mr. Chair, that is correct. Forestry, Botanic Gardens and our department.
Public comment? No public comment on Zoom? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve an amount not to exceed $154,243.
Second.
Moved by Moody, second by Rennie. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The recommendation for Monday's meeting will to be approved in the amount not to exceed $154,243. Next item, please.
Number 17B, consideration of bid number S-28-25 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Construction Specialists Incorporated for the ice slicer building demolition and new steel structure from 2019 to 2022 optional 1% sales tax fund.
Staff report?
Adele Bartel, Public Works Staff Engineer, for a total of $627,700. Construction Specialist Inc. will be demolishing and rebuilding the ice slicer structure. Currently, it is a tent building and it's not in very good shape. It's been torn up in the wind and has structural issues, and which is the reason why we chose to demolish it instead of anything else. And we're going to replace it with a prefabricated steel structure on the existing foundation. I'll take any questions you have.
Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Thank you, ma'am. How old is the current building?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the current building was built in 2007, so it's at the end of its lifespan.
Thank you.
Mr. Royball? Dr. Rennie?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Adele, you may not know the answer, but I before next week would like to see the language. It says the funding source is 1% sales tax. I presume that's 6 penny monies. No, Vicky's shaking her head. No, it must be 5th penny then.
Vicky Nemechek, Public Works, through you, Chair, to Dr. Rennie. That is 5th penny overage money. We received for the 19 to 22 tax about $30 million. 80% of that was to go to roads. The majority of that, I mean, the big majority of that went to that, but we also set some aside for some improvements at street and alley and traffic. They needed some, the public works improvements are also funded with the same funds.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. That answers my question.
Any public comment? Hearing none, may we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the contract and for the bid award not to exceed $627,700.
Second.
Moved by Rennie, seconded by Royball. I have a comment to make before we vote, and I hope we've learned our lesson about these type of buildings. Because this was probably could have lasted longer if it would have been less of a tent type structure in Wyoming. And of course, the same thing happened out at the landfill with that structure. So really, sometimes we build things that probably aren't as long lasting as we like. And I'm sure we've learned our lesson here. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $627,700. Next item, please.
Number 17C, consideration of bid number E-3-25 for 2 mid-size trucks for the City of Cheyenne Fire Rescue Department from Public Safety Infrastructure Fees.
Staff report?
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. T.J. Bartlebort, Purchasing Manager. This is a request for an additional award of 2 mid-sized trucks from bid E-325. This original bid consideration came before this body and was approved on the October 14th, 2025 City Council meeting. The vendor is able to continue the award at the same prices without any increases. So to save time, we are going with the low bidder from that first bid consideration and adding 2 more. These are two Ford Rangers with upfitted beds and equipment to support Cheyenne Fire Rescue. Total cost is $144,614 from public safety infrastructure fees. Happy to answer any questions you have, and I have the fire department folks here if you have direct questions for them. Thank you.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
so this was an extension of bid from last October, is that correct?
Chair, through you to Dr. Rennie. That's correct. The bid has remained open and the vendor's allowing us to continue with an additional award.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Cheyenne Fire and Rescue. I guess I want to, obviously, these are supposed to be in support of the mission, but how will they be used? And is it only one person driving around in them, or, what will their proposed use be?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Battalion Chief Neil Durrani, Cheyenne Fire Rescue. These current vehicles are going to be replacing some outdated vehicles they're currently using. Our plan was initially to replace a couple of them a year. The community risk reduction currently has, I think, 4 assigned to them, or 5. I apologize, 5. And we replaced 2 last year. We're going to replace another 2 this year. And these vehicles are going to be for mainly community risk reduction and prevention efforts.
So, Mr. Chairman, I presume community risk reduction is like doing fire inspections and the
Correct.
like.
They relabeled it as community risk reduction recently.
Okay. All right. And is 1 or 2 people riding in them, or is it a team of?
The community risk reduction individuals have their own vehicles.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the bid from Ken Garf Cheyenne in an amount not to exceed $144,614.
Second.
Moved by Moody, seconded by Royball. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I can be persuaded to change my vote, but at this point, if there's only one person, I don't see the need for a mid-sized truck. I don't understand why we can't go with something a little smaller, a little more economical in the way of a smaller SUV or something. So, as I said, unless I can get compelling reasons to change my mind, I'm going to be a no vote.
You got a compelling reason?
The amount of equipment that they carry fills up a mid-sized pickup truck. They do a lot of, they have a lot of props that they do on, for example, they do CPR. They teach a lot of CPR classes and they carry a lot of equipment. So we've looked into the possibility of utilizing smaller SUVs and small vehicles, but we've ultimately decided some of their prevention equipment that they carry along with their inspection equipment that they just need a larger apparatus.
So Resusciani doesn't fit in the back seat of a
If they teach,
small SUV.
if they teach a large class, then they might have several
Yeah,
of
no.
those.
All right. I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to accept the bid from Ken Garf Cheyenne in an amount not to exceed $144,614. Next item, please.
17D, consideration of bid number E-19-25 for furnishing mid-size SUV and a full-size SUV for the City of Cheyenne Compliance, Community Recreation and Events and Cheyenne Fire Rescue Departments from the 2023 to 2026 optional 1% sales tax fund and one-time state distribution funds.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members, TJ Bartlebort, Purchasing Manager. This is a request for an additional award of mid-size SUVs and 1 full-size SUV from bid E-1925. This original bid consideration came before this body and was approved at the June 23rd, 2025 City Council meeting. So very similar to the previous bid. We have an additional need with an existing bid. The vendor's allowing us to continue with the existing pricing without an increase. So we're utilizing that option to add a few units. This request includes 1 mid-size SUV for the compliance division, 1 full-size SUV and 2 mid-size SUVs for the community recreation and events department, and 2 mid-size SUVs for Cheyenne Fire Rescue Department. We are continuing with the low bidder from the first bid, total for $274,676. Funding coming from various 1% sales tax funds and one-time state distribution dollars. Representatives from all these departments are available for direct questions, or I'm happy to answer anything you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Royball.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. TJ, are these units that are on the ground, or what's the lead time on these?
Chair, through you to Councilman Roybal. These are not on the ground units. Lead time has been running about 180 days approximately for these builds, or that was the stated delivery time at time of order. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the bid from Fremont Motor Company, Lander, Wyoming, an amount not to exceed $274,676.
Moved by Moody, seconded by Rennie. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The recommendation for Monday's meeting will be to accept this bid. This concludes the agenda of the Finance Committee. Have a good day. What am I saying?